So good morning to our workshop, Mozaïk-Portal workshop. Today's subject is going to be on your activities. How do we plan your activities inside Mozaïk-Portal? My name is Francois Gauvin, and I will be assisted with my colleague, Diane Brien. Hi, Diane.
Good morning, everyone.
So Diane, how is it going to be working this morning?
So I'm going to read the question to you when you ask me, and I'm going to publish them after. So we'll try to answer all of your questions today. If we're not able to, we'll answer them tomorrow at the forum.
Thank you, Diane. So welcome to our workshop, and I'll present the planning for today. So let me just change my screen. So our main objective with those workshops is to really help you with the different communication tools that you have with our system to contact your students and the parents of your students. And today it's not a training on how to do everything with the activities and your planning, but it's more like an overview of what is your activities in Mozaïk-Portal and the consequence with the other portal, which is the student and the parent portal. We know, you know already with the website that there has been some workshops already done, and we'll also continue tomorrow with the planning forum that will take place at 10 o'clock. So if we don't have the chance today to cover all your questions, we'll continue tomorrow, and we'll also be there tomorrow if there's new questions. So you can also send the website address to your colleagues if they don't know the website yet. So helping them to join us for the next workshops. And this morning, we'll see how we access Mozaïk-Portal. We'll take a look at what we call the general planning, and how do we assign all our activities to our groups, and afterwards also how do we work inside each group with our activities, which could be activities called in class, activities called homework, and what we can do with them if we want to evaluate them or not, putting marks or not. So a reminder on how Portal is done. It's a national website, so it's very important that you know that it's a website unique for all the teachers here in Quebec, and you're accessing the portal with your user code that's been given by your organization and your password. For more information, if you need to have detailed information on your access, it's really your organization that's going to give you this information. But as for us, GRICS, we can also give you training on the portal if you need to, or you can also refer to your school organization. So let's start by looking at Mozaïk-Portal, but before we go inside the system to have a demonstration, I prefer to give you a picture of what we call the general planning, because if we look inside the past program, which was GPI Internet, where you could create your assignments, well, these assignments, when you look at GPI Internet, they were done year after year. So you had to rebuild all your assignments year after year. If you were doing more than one school, you had to do it in each school. What we've done with Mozaïk-Portal is that we have the activities still in your groups, so each of your subject section have their own assignments, but instead of doing them one by one in your groups, we've done something else which is globally to your user. So going with the general planning will help you keep your activities year after year. So it's not something that you'll have to redo each year, but it's going to be assigned to your user. So instead of having to build these one year after another, it's going to be there, and you'll be able to use them for more than one school. If you're doing more than one school, they will be there also for this year, next year. So it's not related to a year, but it's related to yourself. It's containing your activities, and that will be very useful instead of doing them year after year. So I'm repeating myself. And where do we find that general planning? Well, you'll see in your student portal, your teacher portal, in the section My Data, it's called Planning. So everything that you see in My Data is assigned to you as a user and not as a school or a year. It's assigned to yourself. So let's take a look on the general planning, how it is done. Each of your activities that you're going to define are going to be linked to a term. So it's going to be linked to term 1, term 2, term 3, and it's going to be assigned to a specific date. But before we go into a specific date, each of your activities, since we don't know your groups yet, we're in the something that's more general. We don't know your timetable yet. So what we will ask you, instead of a date, we'll ask you a period. So whenever you're creating an activity, you're going to be telling us at which time, which class it's going to be given. The way we can see it is if you have, let's say, a school that has a cycle of 9 days, 4 periods per day. So we have a 9-day, 4 period. And during the term, let's say that we have at least 6 times the cycle, 6 or 7 times the cycle. So 7 times the cycle means that if you're teaching, another thing that we can say is that if I'm an example would be, let's say, mathematics. If I'm teaching mathematics and it's 6 periods per cycle, it means that for a group, I'll be seeing my group at least 7 times 6, 42 times. So during a term, I'll have 42 periods. Oh, I just realized that I need to say something about people that are here. If you are in the professional sector or the adult sector, I'm sorry, but this workshop and the planning is dedicated to youth sector. So I didn't mention it when I started, but just realize that if you're on the adult sector or the professional sector, well, this is not something that we have in the Mozaïk-Portal for you guys. So that was a end of parenthesis. Let's continue with the periods. So we have a math course That's 6 periods per cycle. So if we're looking in a group, it will be given, let's say, 42 times during the term. So that's what's representing the class 1, class 2, up to class 8 that you see in the board. When you're going to be creating activities, take a look at the icons because you're going to have two choices. Either activities in class that you're going to be telling you can build, not build, but create as many activities as you want. And when you specify the period, it will be in the time. And you also have the activity called homework. Each of your activities will have a certain period, and it could be for the same period you can have two kind of activities or as many activities as you want. Each of your activities can be evaluated. So it could be an activity that you do in class which is not evaluated, or an activity that has a certain maximum where you're going to be evaluating your students. So in my example, I have two activities that will be evaluated. When you create a general planning, afterwards, it's important that we push those activities into our sections or our groups. So with a teacher, in my example, I have two groups. When you're going to be assigning your activities, you're going from the top to each of your groups, and you have two choices. You can either assign all your activities at once, or you can pick them one by one and select the ones that you're going to be pushing to your sections. So it's really up to you to decide how we push these activities. Once the activities are pushed into the sections or the groups, you'll be able to do some modification. But be careful, because once it's pushed, it's like a copy and paste. If you're doing some changes in your general planning, it won't affect your sections. So I'm pushing the first activity that was in class 1 into class 2, period number 2, but it doesn't change in the groups because it has already been pushed. If I do the same into one of my sections, if I change an activity from a certain date to another, it won't affect the general planning. So that's a reality that you have to keep in mind. Another thing is that in each of your group, you are able to create new activities without affecting the general planning. The only thing that you're going to have to ask yourself is, if I'm creating an activity inside my group, is it something that's really just for that group, or is it something that would be useful for all my other groups? If the answer for it's going to be important for my other groups, then I would suggest to create your activity inside the general planning. So it will be there for all the years, and it will be there to push to all your groups. Let's take an example with section 1. So your group number 1, okay, of course, once it's inside your groups, your periods are now days, because we know the timetable of your groups. So period number 1 is something that will happen in the time. And for my example, keep in mind that it's an example, so I've done only 1 week. So I've done all my activities into 1 week, but it's just for the example. Every time that you're going to be creating your planification, your activities, there will be maybe consequences to your students portal or your parents portal. If you decide each of your activities, you have two boxes. One that tells if you want to display into the student portal, and another one that says if you want to display the results. So if you decide not to display some activities, it will be kept into the group planification. If you decide to display activities into the student portal and the parents portal, then it will show into their agenda. But as you can see, you saw that the student portal activities in class and homework will be seen into the agenda, but for the parents portal, only homework are available into the agenda. So it's a big difference between both of the activities. In class is only seen by the student portal, and homework is seen by both student and parents. So if I decide to display into my portal, it will show into the agenda, but I can also decide to display the result. So the check mark that you see, it's because I've said that I wanted to show the results into my students and parents portal. Now let's take a look inside the portal itself. So it will be clear when we go into each of the portal to see what it's done. For my example, this is portal in English, but keep in mind that behind there's a database that it's in French, so that's why you see mathematic in French instead of mathematic in English. So my database is in French, but it's English in my display. Inside my groups right now, if I click into one of my group, under the planning tile, or planning tile, I'll be seeing all my activities for each of the 3 terms. So I can move from term 1, term 2, term 3, and I'll be seeing my activities. And I can go into each of my sections and look at all the activities that are been assigned to each of them. As you can see on the bottom, I have add an activity. If I do it here, it's going to be only for my section 5. Instead of doing it into my section 5, I'm just going to go with the general planning first. So going into my planning, inside the planning, since for the demonstration I have done nothing yet, I'm going to add a plan. With my plan will be my activities. So as a teacher, you could take one title and say that it's going to be all your activities related to either each competencies without having to regroup them. Sorry, I'll start again. When you create a general planning, it's up to you to decide how you're going to build it. I could say I'm going to do one planning, put all my activities in. I could also say, no, I'm going to build a planning which I'm going to take all my activities for the competency 1 and put it into that planning. And I'm going to build another one with all my activities for competency 2, let's say. It's not Mozaïk-Portal that will tell you what to do. It's really up to you to decide how do you organize your stuff. So here, as an example, I'll call it math. Whoops, my cursor is not there. Math, Sec 3, and C1. Because I want to put all my activities for competency 1 into that that planning. You're gonna have to select a subject, and in the list of subject, like I've said, this is a French database. I can either go with the description, or if I know the number, I can also start with the number or mathematic, and then select the proper one. And I'm a teacher for grade 3, so I'll select the mathematic grade 3. I'll just open it up a little bit better so I see all my stuff. So it's now related to 063-306. Oh, save. If I go back to my planning, I have the Sec 3 C1. I can add a new one, call it, could have done it differently just before, but, and C2, list of subject, and I'll do the same thing because it's the same subject, but it's going to be for competency number 3. Now that I have my 2 plans, I'll go into each and every one of them, one by one, select the proper term, so all my activities for term number 3, and add activities. So I'm going to add a new one called in class. Okay. And by the way, it's the description has to be more precise for the student and the parent if you want to show them. The period of the term, this is what I was telling you before. If my activity, let's say that I'm going to name it with a mid-exam. Okay. I've said that, let's say that I have 7 cycles into my term. And my midterm exam, I know it's going to be half the way through. So taking my example with math, 6 periods per cycle, 42 periods. So I'll say that it's going to be done in the period number 21. This posts the activity in the student calendar. This is what I was talking about when I said that the activity would be shown into the agenda of the student. The personal note is something that it's only for you, and the note for the student, that's very important because this is some stuff that will appear in the agenda also. Can't take your calculator. I'm not sure if I'm gonna spell it right. Evaluated activities. If it's gonna be something that's gonna be evaluated, yes. This is where you see my little check mark. Which competency? It's gonna be for competency 1 if I want to be consequent with my title, my general planning title. It's going to be out of 50. Result posted on the report card. If yes, it's going to count in my calculation of the competency 1 competency grade for term 3. Let's say that it has a weighting of 20%. Result viewed by parents and students. If I'm not ready yet to show the results, I can leave it to no, and later on when I'm going to put my marks, I could say yes. So I'm going to say save, and I'm gonna add a new one. Let's say a homework. Period. This is going to be just before my midterm exam, so it's something around the 21 period, so period number 20. Post, yes, I want to post it, and this is going to be accompanying the read and do the exercises for chapter 1 to 20. Evaluated activity, if it's not going to be evaluated, I'm just going to leave it to no and save. So now I have my two activities that are in my general planning. I could do more, but to show you now what's going to be assigned to my sections, I can select, you see on the right part, there's assign an activity to my groups. So if I do this one, it's going to be assigning only activity homework to my groups. If I use this one, assign a term to my groups, then I'm taking all the activities of this term and assigning to my different groups. Let's say that I'm using section 3 for now. Assign. Show assign activities. So it worked well. I have my two activities that are been assigned to section 3. Let's take a look at section 3 now. Section 3, planning. Remember, I had nothing for term number 3. Now I have my two activities, and if you take a look at it, it has created the activity with a certain date. So I have my date now, instead of period number 20, it's now April 7. And for my midterm, it's April 15 because it was the 21. Now, looking at the activity again, I just click on modified, look at the activity date. This is according to my timetable. So because I've set period number 21, it corresponds to April 15. Let's go back to my general planning again. And if I look at section number 5, I didn't do it, so planning should be empty. I'll go back. Oh, sorry. Just wanted to show you something else. To show you that once it's assigned, it's not gonna be changed. I'm just gonna modify that date to, instead of the April 7th, I'll put it in the later on. So on the 21, on the today 21. Okay, so it's now on the 21 of April. Save. And going back to my planning, I'll select my secondary 3, section 1, C1, and I'll assign again to all my groups. And I'm gonna select again section 3 and select section 5, assign. And as you can see, I have my activities that are going to be ignored. So these two have been ignored because they have already been assigned to that section. But for section 5, it's there now. So if I go back to my section 5, my section 3, sorry, I should see in my planning that it hasn't changed. My homework is still on the 21st because you remember I've changed it for 21st and it's has been kept. But for my section 5, I have now 2 new activities, and one it's on the April 7th and the other one is on April 8th. If I look now inside the the student and the parents portal. I had already opened the student. I'm just going to do a refresh with the F5. Okay, it's now refresh. And now with my timetable here, week view, I should see, not it was on April. I should see now that in my week of April 5th, I have my homework and my activity, my midterm. These are the two with a note that will accompany, the activity. Clicking will give me the activity title and the note that I've written into my activity. Clicking on the other one will give me my other activity. If I look inside the parents portal, so that's my parents portal, and this is my kid. I'll refresh. I'll go into my schedule. Again, moving down to April 5th. And as you can see, my homework is in my timetable, but not my activity midterm. And again, as a parent, if I click, I'll see the teacher note. Since I haven't shown the results yet, even though the teacher, the student, or the parent goes into the results, it won't show into the subject result yet. So even though I look at inside the assignment, there's no evaluation yet, and I haven't specifically said that I want to show the results, it won't be there. Going back to my parents and my teacher portal. Now, going into my section number 5, so I'm already there. If I want to evaluate my activity in class, my midterm, I can click in the activity. Since it's the only one that is evaluated, that's the one that shows. And I can put some marks in. Because I don't want to spend too much time into the activity, I'll just make sure that my kid, Florin Rami, has a mark, and I'll save. And before I save, then just to show you what's going to be shown into the parents and the student portal, I'll say yes to show the results and save. Save completed. I'll go back to my student portal, do a refresh. As you can see, my mathematics activity in class midterm, mid-exam, 45 out of 50, that's the latest mark. But if I want to have another view of my results, I can go into my classes and showing my mathematics under the marks, latest marks, see all, and I see that in term 3, I have my results for midterm. As a parent, and like I've said, this is not a full training on the different portal, but it's because we can see the marks different ways. Here in the parent, if I refresh again, I see that Florin has a new result because I have my notification. Clicking on results will give me that, okay, I've got something in mathematics, and inside the list of assignments, I see that my activity done on the 8th of April, my kid has 45 out of 50. okay, this is my activity, this is my planning, and inside each of your group, what was done in the general planning has been copied and pasted in your groups, but we've seen that we can also change the activity planning. We can also modify into the, we can also add, and if we add an activity, let's say in class, it's something that you can do, but if you're doing this, and I say, let's say, exam, I can leave it blank, the activity date. And even if I'm gonna evaluate this, let's say this is gonna be out of 100, and it's gonna be worth 30%. If I save, it's gonna let me save, but the reason, the thing is, since I don't have any dates, I went a little bit too fast. You see that I don't have the question where it says that if I want to show into the parents, the student and parents portal. If I put a date, because since there's no date, it cannot display into the agenda. But if I put a date, then I have the possibility to say that I want to show it. Something that you have to remember when you're doing a general planning, you're going to have to specify a subject. Or it could be more than one subject, by the way. It could be something that's will be used for more than one subject. You're going to have also to specify the term, and you have to remember that it's not associated to a year or to a school. It's something that's related to your user. And once you're creating an activity, keep in mind that when you're creating an activity in class, even if you're saying post in the calendar, it's going to be displayed only for the student portal. And if you're doing a homework, it can be this you're saying that it's posted, it's going to be in the student and the parent portal. And even for homework, you can evaluate them and display the results. So each activity, either in class or homework, can have a percentage and grades associated to it. So Diane, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have. Okay, first question. I'm a resource teacher, and when I log on to Mozaïk, I do not have any groups assigned. Is there a way for me to create my groups with the student I work with?
Well, as a resource teacher, you're right, you're having no sections or no groups, and actually you can't do nothing. It's the secretary or the programmer at the school that can change something into GPI so that you have access to sections. But right now, you probably have into your school teachers that are already assigned to the subjects, and GPI is not allowing more than one teacher per subject right now. It's something that will work on it to have shared teaching or resource teacher that will be able to access groups that are already assigned to teacher, but for now, unfortunately, it's one teacher per section.
Okay, next question. I noticed that my modified students are not on my class list. Should they be included?
It depends how it was built into GPI. So it's really coming from GPI, the information. So the secretary, the person in charge of GPI, the way it has assigned the student into the subject group, that's the reason why you don't see it probably.
Next question. Can I keep all my planning for me alone, or is it automatically shared with student and parents or parents?
Well, as we could see is that when you're creating an activity, it's up to you to show the activity in their agenda or not. So if you're not sharing, it will be in your portal, but not shown anywhere else. So it could be something that you're doing just to, not to evaluate a student, but to, as a reminder, to a quiz that you're doing in class, but it's going to be into your portal, but nobody's going to know that there's a quiz.
Okay, Francois, we have no more question, but just a clarification. You
Yes.
said it earlier at the beginning. Your presentation is available if you want to look at it later. For now, it's available if you click on the same link that you clicked to connect this morning. And when it's no longer, when the link is no longer there, we'll post a video of that presentation on the website that I put in the chat room, so you can see the address, and Francois will show it to you later at the end of the presentation. That's it.
That's it. There's no more questions, so I'll come back with the presentation. Wait a second. I think, okay. See. So for more information, you already know the web address for the bootcamp, the Facebook group. If you're not part of it, well, we suggest that you enroll. So you have the address, and always available also is inside Mozaïk-Portal. You have the link to the different how do we say capsule? The videos explaining what we have into each of the activities of Mozaïk-Portal for teachers. So as a teacher, when I go into, just to demonstrate, when I look inside my menu, I have the access to the video capsule. And if you want, there's also a website demo for Mozaïk-Portal. It's still the same website that you use for your own user, but if you're using the authentication user called Mozaïk-Portal at service.grics.ca with the password, I just noticed that we forgot to translate mot de passe. So you can try different roles into Portal. So you could try the student, you could try the parent, principal, other staff, and it's available to all the teachers and all the people that want to try our demo environment. So thank you to all of you for your participation. And tomorrow there will be the forums for the questions. I'll be there. If you have more questions, I can stay. We've been I think it has been going great. So thank you for all, and I wish you a very good day.
Thank you.